this time, but backdoor fronts can be important anytime. I think fog and low cloudiness can be a forecast wrecker because you look at all the various tools for predicting whether there's going to be fog, like temperature dew-point depressions, and you'll see a valley getting filled with fog, and a mountaintop knot where the fog will spread out a little bit into a deck of stratus. And so that this time of year with low sun heights, it takes hours for it to warm up and evaporate the fog. And so the temperature forecast for that day may be way off if you didn't anticipate the fog. And also fog is a hazard for commuters. And until daylight saving time ended, and now in another month or so, fog is worse in the western end of the time zones because kids are waiting for school buses in the fog, and they often have 2-hour delays. You don't hear about 2-hour delays usually for fog in places like Boston and New York City because often it's light enough that people can see. So fog's a big problem, and we could have some of that as the next high pressure area builds in. Who has any idea when it's going to get cold enough to snow here the first time? So I'll give you the answer in a minute after we pull out some possible guesses. Anybody? Wild guess. First, December 1st?
It'll be cold enough to snow Monday.
Right. Because it'll be about 32 and clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cold enough. All right, well, I have no idea what is going to happen. We react to the question of the 45-day forecast that we put out. And when people ask me about it, I generally will say that beyond about 7 or 8 days, it's for entertainment purposes. If you have a wedding coming up in 45 days, you're going to look at it. And we're glad that you do come and look at it, but please don't make any decisions based on it, because as you know, you cannot hit those kinds of forecasts. Although in a perverse way, it was very good this summer because it was one of the few products that never predicted a landfalling hurricane on the East Coast. And that's because of the algorithms we prevent it from occurring, because for the reason you don't want to scare people 40 days in advance about a hurricane. Okay, so that's basically what it is. It's going to get cooler. The next week it appears to get warmer. And in El Nino winters of the past, we've often had above average temperatures. But whether we get a lot of snow often depends on whether we get high latitude blocking. And that's something that often isn't forecastable more than a couple of weeks in advance. And to me, that's one of the biggest challenges in long-range forecasting. There are some parameters where you can look at things like the MGO cycle, or the MJO cycle. You can look at whether you're in an El Nino, what it's been like in the past statistically. But there are certain things that can't be forecast more than a few weeks in advance. And since those are so important, for example, the winter of 1977-78, we had high latitude blocking. Storms came along and there was heavy snow. Other years, when there hasn't been blocking, same storms come along and it rains. Tremendous difference between the two. Rain causes depression among people interested in meteorology, whereas snow often is an exciting forecast. Brings me one other thing that I like the idea of not rooting for storms. I mean, you may do that in the weather tower, but remember you're dealing with something that can kill or injure people. So you don't want to root too hard unless you can really help people to save lives or avoid injury or property damage. Any questions? Any suggestions other than not to come back again? Anyway, that's what you do if you have to give a half-hour weather briefing, nothing's happening. One final thought is that, I don't know if you all heard what happened out in Evansburg. The police were looking for speeders, and a car comes up very, very slowly. And the officer looks in the window and sees someone who possibly is to believe is older than I am. Looks like he's about 100 years old. Pulls him over and says, "Sir, do you know how fast you're going?" He said, "Yes, I do. Right up there is a sign that says 22. I know I'm going 22 miles an hour. You can't give me no ticket." The officer says, "Sir, that's not the speed limit. That's the name of the road you're on. You're on Route 22. And the driver says, thank you, I'll use that information. There are 3 people the same age in the back seat, and they look terrified. The officer said, are you folks okay? And one of the people said, we are now. I said, well, what happened before? He said, we just got off 219. Oh, have a great afternoon, everyone.
Next week, we'll see if AccuWeather 12 date comes. All right. Thank you, Elliot.
Welcome.